Okay, so I have to start over. This is a T-square, all right? Just for the camera, just for the effects. And the way you use a T-square is in concert with a ruler and a triangle. This is a triangle, okay? And then you're going to need something to cut with, and this is an X-Acto blade. Anybody ever worked with an X-Acto blade before? You have? Okay, well, you know, if you've worked with them before, you know that they're actually a surgical instrument, and they will cut you.
We use them to dissect pigs.
To dissect a pig, yeah, so that tells you just how sharp they are. So I get kind of nervous when students start using X-Acto knives if they've never used them before, but there's always an opportunity to learn. But you just need to be super, super careful and very aware when you're using an X-Acto knife. And with the X-Acto knife, there's a textured area right here, and it will turn and loosen the blade holder so you can pull the blade out like that. And the reason you pull the blade out is because the blade gets dull and you want to replace the blade. So I'm going to put it back in here right now and tighten it back up. At least I thought I was going to tighten it up. Then there are also box cutters like this. And this was kind of dull. But for the most part, everything you cut in here, you can use a box cutter. So if the X-Acto blade makes you nervous, know that these will work just fine. This is what's called a self-healing cutting mat. So don't ever cut on these wooden boards because they'll damage them. You always want to cut using something underneath your paper, like a self-healing cutting mat. So the first thing I'm going to do, first thing I want you guys to do is I want you to all get a board like this. So the first thing that you're going to do with your T-square is you're going to square your paper that I just gave you. You're going to square it up on your board, which means you're going to get the edge of the paper. So don't use the torn edge that I used, that I tore there. But you're going to put your T-square up against the left edge of your drawing board. Is everybody right-handed in here? Anybody left-handed? You're left-handed? Okay, you may find that you need to use it the other way, but let's try to start out this way and see what happens. If you feel that it's more natural to turn it the other way at some point, then you can. But you want that T-square to be flush up against your board. So pull it over just a little bit more. There you go. Really go. Yeah, just like that. You're going to take your sheet of paper and you're just going to put it right on top of your ruler. Just sit it right on top. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to secure that paper onto the board itself. So take your tape and tear off just a little chunk like that, less than an inch really. And holding your T-square snug against the edge of your board, making sure your paper's straight across on the measuring or the bar that goes across. Take that tape and put it on the side of your paper. Don't put it across the corner, put it on the side. So now take another little piece of tape on the opposite side of the paper, once again on the side, on the opposite side and diagonal to the tape, wherever you first put the tape, put another little piece of tape. Okay, so now you've got your paper secure on the board. And the first thing that we're going to do is you're going to need a pencil. Everybody got a pencil? And you're going to take your T-square and you're going to move it up just about a couple of inches so that this edge is on your paper. It's about 2 inches up from the bottom of your paper. Got it? Okay. Now take your pencil, make sure that the edge of your T-square is snugged up against that left side. And take your pencil and just draw a line. It doesn't matter where you start, but draw a line that's about 12 inches long. You're going to take your triangle and you're going to place it, you're going to sit it on top of the edge of your T-square. And what you'll have there is a 90-degree angle between your T-square and your triangle. So then take your pencil and then draw a line from the base of your T-square on that line that you just drew and just draw it straight up. And then move your tools out of the way, and what you should have there is like an upside down T. But what you've got is a 90-degree angle right in here. This is 90 degrees. That's a 90-degree angle right there. Okay, so at this point we don't have a protractor, and these are not 45-degree triangles. If they were 45-degree triangles, then we could draw a perfect square. But we don't have those, so we've got to compensate. So what I want you to do is get a ruler and measure on that bottom line from your vertical line, measure across 6 inches and put a little bitty tick mark right there on your horizontal line at 6 inches. Now, what I want you to do is measure 6 inches up. From your baseline, measure up 6 inches and put a little tick mark on your vertical line. Move your T-square, slide it up to that tick mark at the top of your vertical image, of your vertical line. Now what I want you to do is divide this 6-inch square box into 4 equal squares. So now that you've got your 4 squares, equal squares, take your ruler and place it at the top left corner of your 6-inch square, and then line it up diagonally with the bottom. Left. And when you draw that dotted line, after you've drawn it, it should intersect perfectly with the middle of your 6-inch square. And that is where each corner of those 4 squares should be. And that tells you, if you see how your center's off, it should be right here. So that tells you if your 4 squares are equal in size. If that line does not intersect them, then they're not equal. You've made a miscalculation somewhere. Got it? So this is just basic geometry, isn't it? Yeah. The challenge isn't necessarily the geometry, it's in using the tools to create it. Because in this class, we're using manual tools. You know, we're not using digital. When we're on the computer, this stuff would be like, boom, it's line up really fast. But we're having to actually make things, cut them apart, glue them back together. So you want your craftsmanship to be of a quality so that it doesn't, as I said, doesn't deter from the aesthetics or the beauty of your project. Okay, so we've created a grid. For your next project, your value project, you're going to need to create a grid from photographs that you take. And so the grid, all the instructions are in the project brief, but this process that you just did you're going to need to be able to do this to cut out the photographs. So you're going to take photographs, we're going to print them out, you're going to cut out squares, and then you're going to reassemble those squares onto a piece of paper. So you're going to need to cut really cleanly. Now, when you get ready to cut, let's say that I wanted to cut these 4 squares out. You're not going to cut on this board, remember, because it's going to damage it. So you've got a couple of choices. What you're going to do is you're going to gently peel the tape up. And if you want to use the self-healing cutting mat, you slide the mat underneath where you're going to cut. And you always use a metal edge to cut against. And these rulers are metal edge, so you can use them. Don't use your T-squares and don't use your triangles because they're plastic and that'll gouge out chunks. But you can cut against the metal edge. So what the first thing you'll do is you're going to lay down your metal edge against one of the lines that you want to cut. You're going to get it right on that line. And then you're going to take your cutting utensil, if you're using an X-Acto blade. And this X-Acto blade is dull, which is a bad thing. So I'm going to cut. When you cut with an X-Acto blade, you don't put it down and just like that, all right? You're going to put the metal edge down, and you're going to make sure you've got your hand out of the way of the blade, all right? I can't tell you how many times I've done this and run a blade down and sliced the side of my finger off. Don't do that, okay? Trust me, it hurts. So you're going to be sure you've got your fingers out of the way, and then you're going to lightly cut along the metal edge. You want to push the blade against the metal edge and cut lightly. And then come back and cut it again. Now this is really thin paper, so two strokes did it. But you guys are going to be cutting mat board. So it's going to take more than 1 slice or 2 slices to cut through. But the reason you don't bear down and slice real hard is because oftentimes when you do that, you'll get drag and it'll just tear that paper and just drag all the way down through there, especially if your blade has gotten kind of dull. So now I've got a nice cutout of that line. See if it's cut. Yep, there it is, it's cut. I want you guys to try it.